Who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is, for real estate developers, this is a joke. The first question, is everybody doing it in real estate? Yes, everybody's doing it, not only domestically, all around the world. It looks to me in this presidential race, and I'm not in favor of this, that the courts are being used to try and sway voters. When in America do we sue sitting presidents and former presidents? We've never done this before. This is really bad for the American brand.
What is good, Joe? We back again with another episode of the Black Anomaly Rising Channel. So, Donald Trump, the trouble never stops for this man. Everybody's after him. So he's been going through this civil trial. I'm not exactly sure what happened with the trial. Like, they're still, I don't know, waiting on, like, I guess, some sort of final ruling. But even though they, like, decided that he was guilty before the trial began, which I've never really heard of that being a thing. But I don't have a law degree, so maybe it is a thing. I don't know. But in this case, he was going to trial over this. Letitia James basically ran on the fact that she was going to convict Trump. She said this over and over and over again, that she was going to get him, and she was going to take him to court, and she was going to be a pain and all of this stuff.
The people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person.
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. Stop your ass and vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
He built his wealth off the backs of New Yorkers. We need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. Challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake.
And she was right. She's done all of those things. I mean, I don't know if there hasn't been like any type of conviction or anything up to this point, and no type of damages against him, but they did do an appeal, and Trump has basically kind of already won his appeals. So I'm just not exactly sure how this is going to go, because a lot of this stuff, the legal precedent, it's like it hasn't really been set because this is unorthodox, and that's what this video is about. So Kevin O'Leary, world famous investor, or at least famous in America, is basically calling this out as a bunch of BS, and how it says a false president. Basically, they're trying to get Trump on something that nobody else probably has ever been gotten on, which is essentially saying, okay, you want to sell your house. You tell somebody your house is worth $500,000. The bank comes and tells you we think it's worth $400,000 based off their appraisal, and boom, you go into business like that. They give you a loan a little bit less than their appraised amount, and you just kind of proceed from there. You told them the amount, they disagreed. That's what's up. With Trump, they're saying, oh, no, you broke the law. You said that it was X amount, even irrespective of appraisals. It doesn't matter. You said it was a higher amount, and then the government comes back behind you and determines what the amount is that's way different years later. Does that make sense to y'all? That sounds crooked as hell, doesn't it? But that's exactly what they're doing in Trump's civil case. That's what Letitia James is doing. But without further ado, let's see what Kevin O'Leary has to say about this, because he disagrees with this precedent and basically says if you sue Trump for this, it's almost like you got to sue everybody.
Well, the multi-million-dollar question tonight: will Donald Trump be barred from New York's luxury real estate business and forced to pay perhaps $370 million for falsifying financial records? Here to break it all down and what's at stake, Shark Tank judge and chairman of O'Leary Ventures. Some call him Mr. Wonderful. We'll call him Kevin O'Leary tonight. Kevin.
Which doesn't make sense. So something like falsifying financial records is really like something that you could go to like a criminal trial for. This is not that. This is a civil trial. I believe intentionally, because there's no plaintiff that was like hurt and lost money from this. That's another reason this doesn't make any sense. And the fact that you can legitimately try to claim that, oh, this is not political persecution at all, is just astounding. It's incredibly dishonest, if you ask me.
Thank you for being here today. I have to ask you, I mean, look, some people look at all this and they say, is this what happens in business, what Trump has said he's done or is accused of being done? You've been doing real estate for decades. Does this case strike you as odd?
Well, let's leave out Trump for a minute and let's leave out politics and just talk about what happens in real estate development anywhere. So if you're a developer and you've got a building on a block anywhere in America and it's worth, let's say, $500 million and you want to build a building right beside it, you go to the bank and say, this building is worth $500 million. I'd like to borrow a construction finance loan against this asset, and I want you to tell me it's worth $500 million too. And the bank negotiates with you and says, well, no, we think it's worth $400 million, and you fight it out. You're always trying to show your assets in the brightest light with the sunshine you could possibly determine for them. You want them to be worth the very most, because you're only going to get a 40 or 50% loan to value, as it's called. Then you borrow that money. In the case of a $500 million asset, maybe you get $250 million, and you build a new building with a construction finance loan. And so that's what this case is all about. And by the way, forget about Trump. Every single real estate developer everywhere on earth does this.
Yes.
They always talk about...
And guess who? I literally have done this. So there's basically, it's like anybody can be prosecuted for this now. This is like so insane.
But their asset being worth a lot, and the bank says no. And that's just the way it is. So in this case, when I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day.
But
So
the whole objective of it was only to get Trump. That's what I'm saying. Like, all of the stuff that they keep doing, I actually think that, I'm going to be honest with y'all. If Trump wasn't getting, if he didn't have like 91 charges with 4 indictments, if he didn't have this fraudulent civil case against him, if they wasn't trying to take him off the ballot, then it would just make it seem like, you know, this guy's just a wacko. Like, he keeps saying all of these people are against him and they're all trying to, you know, it's this witch hunt, as he called it. And there would be very little credibility to that. The only thing that you might be able to say is that the liberal media was portraying him in a negative light. But at least it wouldn't be like everything imaginable is against him. They're literally attacking him from a government perspective, the media, and commercially, and personally. Trying to say, oh, well, this, you know, the Stormy Daniels thing, like trying to get under his skin with him and his wife and all of this. Anything you can. His kids, they're going through anything imaginable. So the fact that you can that people still have the cognitive dissonance or the disingenuous level of people who try to say that all of this stuff is totally legitimate is just absurd. It doesn't make any sense. Trump was right. When I first started hearing it, I honestly didn't believe it. You go back a couple years, but I saw the light. Trump was right. It is a politically motivated witch hunt.
Thing will ever survive appeal, regardless of what the fine is. This doesn't even make sense. Now, look, I know Trump's got a lot of problems in other indictments and everything else, but this, if you're a real estate developer, you're watching this, you're saying, what is this? This is ridiculous.
Well, you know, the thing is, most people who are in this world are not real estate developers, and they necessarily don't know that this is the way maybe things are done, even if it might be violative of the law. But the question about who loses money, and I've heard this argument, and he's raised this argument, and others have raised this argument, that who's the real victim here? How about the fact that you can get a tax benefit for having overvalued or having a different value that's actually normal? Doesn't that deprive the state of revenue? Is that enough, do you think? I know you're laughing, but this is a rich people problem.
I don't think this really makes sense because, I mean, I don't know, unless there's something I don't know about, the government makes their own tax assessment. So they don't really judge it based off of whatever value you apply to it. If I say that my house is worth $1 million, the government's not going to care that I think it's worth $1 million. That makes absolutely no sense. They're going to go based off of the assessed value, tax assessed value. So I'm not exactly sure what she means. I don't know. Maybe if she means something different, maybe y'all let me know in the comments if you're aware of something specific that she's talking about.
It was very different than my world. Go ahead.
I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And you're making a valid point. But it's humorous in the sense that you have to sue every single real estate developer here in Miami, in Chicago, in Los Angeles,
everywhere,
in Detroit, in Dallas. This is what they do every day. This is what the real estate game is all about. It's getting construction financing against stabilized assets. When a building is fully leased out and everybody's renting it and you've got offices or you've got apartments in it, it's called a stable asset. And you value it and you go to the bank and say, this asset is worth $500 million. And I want to borrow $250 million against it. And the bank always negotiates with you. Everybody understands how this works. And that's why I think it's going to be very, very hard to make this stick in reality.
It's not as simple as that either, because the government actually does similar things too. The government purchases buildings all the time, including houses. They literally do the exact same thing. It's not even as simple as just all of these commercial people. Their processes are not that much different. So they do the same things. So this would mean that technically you could come back and sue the government as well. Doesn't sound like it makes sense, does it? Like, how you gonna sue the government for purchasing property? It's the same logic. Do you think the government's gonna say, well, we have this asset, they want to buy a new asset, and they're gonna say, well, we think it's really worth $600,000, but because we don't want to get sued, we're gonna just say $400,000 just to be safe. And even if you do that, at any point, the problem with this is that at any point, because of the precedents that's being set, they could just say, well, years later, they disagreed with whatever number you said, no matter how low it is. They just say, well, we don't agree with that number. We think it was worth 2 pennies. So it's fraud. You're going to jail. I mean, well, not jail, but you know what I'm saying.
This is not, of all the things that Trump's being accused of and being litigated for and indicted for, this is not his problem. This is not his problem. He's got much worse problems than this. This is, for real estate developers, this is a joke.
It's fascinating to me to hear this perspective, because you don't often hear it from that particular angle. And of course, you wonder if everyone's doing it and one would have to sue everybody, does that mean that they got to have a bigger prosecutor's office, or that the laws have to change to make it? I mean, you cannot do, like, what is the solution?
In this person's mind, the solution isn't that this is a political persecution. Like, what in the heck is she talking about? Like, I don't understand how. I mean, okay, I get it. Maybe this is CNN. She doesn't want to look like she's taking Trump's side, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, what do you mean change the laws? There's nothing that was illegal. He did not break any laws. No laws were broken. So what are you talking about? Well, I think it's worth this much. Bank thinks it's worth another amount. What law was broken? Like, oh, illegally inflating your assets. You can't illegally inflate your assets. The whole reason there's an appraisal process is so that you can't do that. If there's no appraisal, maybe you would have a point. But there is an appraisal, so what? Oh my God.
You get punished for it, or you shouldn't do it, or you know what? It should be okay.
It should be okay, dummy.
The first question, is everybody doing it in real estate?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody's doing it. Not only domestically, all around the world.
Facts.
That's how it works, okay? Now, you don't want to be Donald Trump and get embroiled in what looks like, I mean, it looks to me in this presidential race, and I'm not in favor of this, that the courts are being used to try and sway voters on both sides of the equation. I don't understand why we're trying to, impeach Biden. What a waste of time. and his son and all this stuff, and all of this litigation on Trump hasn't moved the needle for either of these candidates.
That is, I believe, factually incorrect. I actually think that the amount of stuff that they are trying to do to Trump is not even close to this little measly impeachment inquiry against Biden. It's not even comparable. I think that definitely, I don't think that the Democrats who are like really, really staunch Democrats, I don't think that the impeachment is going to change anything for Biden. But I definitely think that more voters are coming to Trump's side. People have admitted, because Fannie Willis she just had to get the Trump mugshot. People have admitted to wanting to support Trump more just because they felt like he was being politically persecuted. This ain't just Rashad up here saying this. Tons of people have said this. There's all kinds of videos all over YouTube saying it. All over Twitter, people saying it. Instagram, like all over the net. I talked to people in real life who said similar stuff. So I don't think, this is where I think you're wrong, Kevin. That's the one thing I disagree with out of everything you said.
People don't care about this noise anymore, and it's obvious when you look at these poll results. And so why keep doing it? I mean,
you got to pay attention. The poll results have indicated that Trump has gone up from everything that they've done. He literally has like a spike anytime they do something additional to him.
Vote and decide on the merits of both. I'd rather hear policy. I'd rather not hear about Trump's real estate woes in New York. I'd like to hear his tax plan. I want to hear about security at the border. I'd like to hear foreign policy from both of these candidates so I can make a decision as a voter on which of these people should be president. And the rest of this stuff is just horrific noise. When in America do we sue sitting presidents and former presidents? We've never done this before. This is really bad for the American brand. This is kind of, it feels like Venezuela to me or something. This is nuts. We're so close to the election. We're months away. Let's talk policy. Give me some meat on the bone.
They don't want to talk policy, Kevin, because policy means that they will lose. Bidenomics has got us to record levels of inflation, record interest rates, all-time high prices in the housing market. Gas prices are still up. They're down from their peak. Shout out to Karine Jean-Pierre, but they're still up. Certainly not what they were before. Like especially if you go back to right before COVID. Oh, heck no. Heck no. It's not even close. Price of goods and services. I got to go to the store right now. I'm dreading going to the store. The price is high as hell.
Stuff's getting too crazy.
Oh, bless your heart, Mr. Wonderful. You want to know the policy in politics. What in Washington, D.C. that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Nice to see you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's just talking common sense. And the sad thing is, this woman, I don't know who this woman is. So, like, if I say anything mean, okay, like, I'm not trying to, like, be rude or anything. But the fact of the matter is, it does not sound like this woman understands anything about real estate. Like, she's probably working her job in this big CNN think tank. It's a bunch of people who all think the same thing, and you're probably not very welcome if you think anything different. So it sounds like she's never actually heard dissenting opinions before, especially about this civil case, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, she literally is admitting that she's happy that she's heard this perspective. I'm like, what do you mean you haven't heard this perspective? Anybody who does business has heard this perspective. Any business person has at least dabbled in real estate at some point, so everybody already knows this. This is like common knowledge. So the fact that she's just now hearing about this for the first time, for me, is like mind blowing. It's like, I gotta stop giving people too much credit. Y'all are awakening my inner narcissist, because I'm starting to think like, if you don't know this, then you just got issues if you're to the level that this person's at, to know that this is a bunch of fake nonsense. This whole trial was a farce from the beginning. Oh, he was convicted before he came to the trial?
Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump did engage in years of significant financial fraud we uncovered.
How? This doesn't make any damn sense. And y'all are supposed to be the good guys? Y'all are supposed to be protecting who from fraud again? Like, who is the prosecutor and defendant? Like, who's hurt? Like, who is Trump paying damages to? It doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Y'all know taxes have to pay for these trials. They're not free. That means that y'all's money, my money, goes towards, whenever there's a bunch of nonsense like this, it's everybody's money going towards it. Because of politics and trying to, Letitia James trying to boost her political career to say she got Trump. That's what this is about. Essentially willing to unethically take down an innocent man so you can uplift yourself. And the fact that people go home and not only sleep good at night, but are happy to do something like this, it truly disgusts me. Trump was right all along. This is a political witch hunt, and these people cannot be allowed to get away with it. We're going to make America great again. We're going to do it together come November. I'm going to see y'all at the polls. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Appreciate y'all watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.